When your dog pulls you down the street on a walk, do you actually know what that means? You probably think they're just excited. Maybe they have more energy than you expected, but behind that excitement, there's something deeper that most dog owners completely miss. It's one of the most instinctive and emotionally driven behaviors your dog shows outside the home. And if you misunderstand it, which most owners do, you might actually be increasing your dog's anxiety without even realizing it. Let's start with what this behavior really means. 1. The debunk. It's not about energy, it's about direction. Have you ever felt like your dog is walking you instead of the other way around? They pull ahead, decide where to go, stop when they want, and ignore your pace. Most people think it's about energy. They just need more exercise. Here's what's actually happening. Your dog isn't just moving forward. They're making decisions. They're choosing direction, speed, and timing without checking in with you. That might seem harmless, but to a dog, that changes everything. Emotionally, this creates confusion. Because in a dog's world, movement is leadership. Think about that for a second. In the pack, the one who leads the walk decides where the group goes and takes responsibility for safety. So when your dog leads every walk, they're not just burning energy. They're stepping into a role they were never meant to carry. And that's where things begin to shift. 2. The science. Why unclear leadership increases anxiety. You might think giving your dog freedom makes them happier. More space, more control, more fun. But studies on domestic dogs show something surprising. A 2019 study from the University of Lincoln found that dogs actually display more stress-related behaviors when they lack clear guidance from their owner. Here's what's actually happening. Dogs rely on structure to feel safe. When that structure disappears, they don't feel free. They feel uncertain. Emotionally, uncertainty is heavy for a dog because they don't just explore the world, they scan it for threats. Think about that for a second. If your dog is always in front, always leading, they're also the first to encounter everything unknown. And that means more pressure, more responsibility, more vigilance. What this reveals is simple but powerful. Your dog doesn't want to be in charge of the walk. They want to feel guided through it. And here's where it gets even deeper. 3. The scent, pack bond. Walking is how your dog connects to you. To you, a walk is exercise. To your dog, it's communication. Dogs experience the world through scent first, sight second. Every step is information. Every pause is meaning. Here's what's actually happening. When your dog walks beside you and matches your pace, they're syncing with you. Your rhythm becomes their rhythm. Emotionally, this is bonding. It's how your dog says, I trust you to lead. Think about that for a second. When your dog constantly pulls ahead, that connection breaks. They're no longer walking with you. They're operating independently. But when they stay close, check in, adjust to your movement, they're identifying you as their safe base. Studies on canine cognition suggest dogs actively use proximity to determine trust and attachment, not just in the home, but especially in unfamiliar environments. So the walk isn't just a routine, it's a moving relationship. And hey, if this makes sense to you, hit like and subscribe. It helps us reach more dog owners who actually want to understand what their dog is really saying. 4. The evolutionary root. This behavior comes from survival. Only long before leashes existed, dogs lived in structured packs. In those packs, movement wasn't random. It was coordinated, intentional, hierarchical. Here is what's actually happening. The leader walked first. Not because they were dominant, but because they were trusted to guide. Puppies didn't run ahead. They stayed close, learning through observation. Emotionally, this created security because following meant safety. Think about that for a second. Your dog still carries that instinct today. So when they're forced or allowed to lead without guidance, it conflicts with something deeply wired inside them. What makes this even more powerful is this. Your dog isn't trying to dominate you. They're trying to resolve uncertainty. And if you don't step into that guiding role, they will try to fill the gap themselves, even if it stresses them out. 5. The selective behavior. They don't do this with everyone. Have you noticed your dog behaves differently on walks depending on who's holding the leash? With some people, they're calm. With others, they pull non-stop. Most people think it's random or just a personality quirk. Here's what's actually happening. Your dog is reading energy, consistency, and confidence. Emotionally, they're asking one silent question. Can I rely on you to guide me? Think about that for a second. If the answer feels unclear, they take over. But if the answer feels strong and consistent, they relax. That's why they don't behave the same with everyone. What this reveals about your dog is powerful. They're not just reacting to the environment, they're responding to you. And whether you realize it or not, every walk is a conversation about trust. 6. The ultimate revelation. Your dog isn't asking for control, they're asking for clarity. This is where most owners get it wrong. You think your dog wants freedom, but actually they want direction. Here's what's actually happening. When your dog pulls, rushes, and leads, they're not saying, I am in charge. They're saying, I don't feel guided. Emotionally, that's vulnerability, not defiance. Think about that for a second, because everything changes when you see it that way. Your dog isn't challenging you. They're looking for reassurance. And the moment you provide clear, calm direction, slow pace, consistent boundaries, gentle corrections, something shifts. They start to relax. They check in more. They walk with you. Not because they have to, but because they finally feel safe enough to. So next time your dog pulls ahead, remember that behavior isn't about excitement. It's about uncertainty. 7. The warning. When the walk gets worse, don't ignore it. If your dog suddenly starts pulling more, becoming reactive, or refusing to walk calmly at all, don't ignore this. Here's what's actually happening. That behavior can be a sign of rising anxiety or overstimulation. Emotionally, your dog may be overwhelmed. And without clear guidance, that stress builds quickly. Think about that for a second, because walks are where your dog faces the outside world. If they feel alone in that moment, everything becomes louder, scarier, harder to process. So when behavior changes, it's not random. It's communication, and it's asking for your help. So when your dog pulls you on the walk, it's easy to think they're just excited. But now you see the truth. That's not just energy. That's a search for direction. That's not disobedience. That's emotional uncertainty. And that behavior, it was never small to your dog, and it shouldn't be small to you either.